to the Fit Dads podcast. This week, our guest is a guy who went all the way. He achieved an incredible transformation both physically and mentally, dropping over 4 stone, 27 kilos in weight, and 13% body fat. He did exactly what he set out to do, all whilst being a busy dad of 3 and travelling the world with a demanding job. A man who has become not only a friend, but someone that I genuinely get inspired by, and continually makes me question whether I'm doing enough. If there was ever a guest that has fantastic insights for our audience about what it takes to seriously change the way you look and feel, it's Mr. Dan Smith. Dan, welcome to the Fit Dads podcast.
Thank you for having me.
No worries.
So quite an introduction.
Yeah. I've done my best. Trying to pick you up.
Yeah.
Today, obviously, we want to get to know your journey.
Yeah.
I know it probably more than Brad does.
Yeah.
We've worked together for just over a year now.
Yeah.
You've honestly changed more physically and mentally than what I see most people change in that kind of time frame. Just down to little things like, you go to the gym at 5 a.m. every day now, don't you, pretty much?
Most days.
5 days a week, let's say. And that's something that when you first started definitely wasn't the case.
No, not at all.
I think
not at all.
You were pretty much finding every excuse under the sun not to go to the gym, I think, when you first started.
Yeah, that's fair.
But now it's a complete transformation.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to pick your brains. We want to get to know the journey, the change in mindset, all the intricate details, a lot of things that we've actually spoken about in sessions before.
Yeah.
So we're going to reel off some questions and kind of get to know you and your journey a little bit better.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
My first question is, just for a moment, I want you to go back a year, right?
Yep.
Just describe what that Dan was like, his thoughts around health, nutrition, mindset.
Yeah. Okay. So I made a few notes as I've gone here as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
If I actually go back to a year ago, if I'm brutally honest with myself, I was ashamed and embarrassed.
Well, yeah.
I was
okay.
nearly 18.5 stone.
Yeah.
Chasing him round the park. I'm sorry, I'm pointing at my son who sat on the other side of the room.
We have got an all-good guest as well over there.
Chasing him around the park, 10 paces and out of breath, and not being able to keep up with him. Lying in bed at night having heartburn.
Right.
It wasn't a nice place to be. It wasn't a comfortable place to be. It wasn't an enjoyable way to be living life, to be honest. I wasn't at my best for anybody, especially myself. So mentally, physically, I was not in a good place. Nutritionally, I basically ate whatever was put in front of me. Could have been healthy. Most of the time, probably not that healthy. But it wasn't necessarily always about the quality of the food, I'd say, from a nutrition. It was about the volume of it that I ate. It's like, if you gave me the food for 2 people, I'd eat the food for 2 people. And then I'd go and sit on the sofa, have a beer and watch TV till 11, 12 o'clock at night. Go to bed, get up as late as possible the following morning, and get on with the day feeling like crap, basically.
How's that different to the guy right now? What's the biggest changes from that routine every day to where you are now?
The biggest changes are prioritisation and discipline, I would say. A lot of people talk about motivation, but being brutally honest, no one's motivated to get up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. There's no motivation at 5 a.m. It's discipline. You made a promise to yourself, don't break it. So the biggest change for me is, and this actually came from my wife because she got into watching Mel Robbins quite a lot, and there was...
Who's Mel Robbins?
Motivational speaker.
Yeah, motivational speaker, motivational coach.
Right.
Really inspiring.
But there's lots of little tricks that I've picked up from that as well. But there's one of the things there that she was saying, the way to have a routine that gets you out of bed in the morning is actually to have a routine in the evening that gets you to bed.
Right, okay.
So basically, I go to bed by 8 o'clock now. If I'm not in bed by 8 o'clock, then I can't get up at 5 because I'm too tired. So we're in bed for 8 o'clock, whereas before, I wouldn't go to bed till midnight. So there's like 3-4 hours that I've taken from the end of the day and put at the start of the day. When the kids are still asleep, I can get up and I can go and do stuff. So it's very much that in the evening we've got a routine we go through to basically close the house down for the night. I don't want to come down at 5 o'clock in the morning. My wife doesn't want to come down at sort of 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and see a load of pots on the side, see clothes and mess everywhere. So the house is tidied, the pots are washed, the dishwasher's put on, the sides are wiped before I go to bed.
Okay.
I get my supplement. I normally have a protein shake before I go to the gym because I'm so early. I'm not having a full meal, so I'll make a protein shake, take it in the car with me, and have that on the way. Get any other bits and pieces out that I want to make sure my gym bag's out on the side, so I've got my kit there. Go up to bed, I get my gym clothes folded up at the end of the bed so I can just grab them, get out of bed in the morning, grab them, go and put on.
Great idea.
Put my phone in the wardrobe now.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a plug socket in the wardrobe. We're very lucky that we've got a little walk-in wardrobe, so we've got a plug socket in the wardrobe, so my phone is in the wardrobe charging in there.
Amazing.
So my watch goes off at 5. Then there's another Mel Robbins thing, which is if you give your time to self to think about something, you're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes your brain 15 seconds to talk you out of it. So it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Basically, decide what you're going to do. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it.
Yeah.
Don't think about it, and that's it. At 5 o'clock, my alarm buzzes. I stop that. Might give myself 10 seconds. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, out of bed. Get my phone, go. I also have a second alarm on my phone for 5:15. So if that goes, I've got to get out of bed and go and get it. Because occasionally I have slept through my watch.
We've all been there, mate. Don't you worry.
So that's there. Grab that, brush my teeth, put my gym stuff on, and I'm straight out the door. Grab my bag and run.
Yeah.
That is the biggest change, is putting that discipline in. If you'd said to me a year ago you'd go to the gym 4 times a week, and we did sort of discuss it as well. I think my was, I don't have time to do that. Who has time to go to the gym 4 times a week?
Yeah.
And it's a big thing. It's not that you don't have the time. There's hours and hours in a week where you can do it, and I made some notes on like the hours of split. But if you prioritise yourself and you put the discipline behind that, there's all the hours that you need in a day.
Absolutely.
Why spend 3 hours sat on the sofa drinking a beer and watching a TV at the end of the day when you can go, well, the kids are in bed, the missus might be pottering around. My wife gets up, she does yoga, she does some other bits and pieces, she goes down and prepares a bit of food for the day.
Yeah.
So she's shifted as well with me. But I've taken that time from the end and just put it at the front of the day. So rather than me trying to get the kids to bed so I can have our time in the evening, I'm getting up early to have my time before they wake up.
What a fantastic insight that is. I think it's so good to hear that mindset shift of how someone's gone, I know this can work. I've just got to sit down and sort my routine out to get it to the point where it works for not only me, but for the family as well.
But it's not something that comes straight away. You can't dive into it. You've got to be ready for the change. And there's like a quote, it was along the lines of, the pain of where you are now has to be more painful than making the change. The change has got to make your life easier. And I'll be honest, the number of times my wife's tried to change it to say, come on, let's start our day earlier. Yeah, great idea. But come 5, 6 a.m, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It was through the last year, sort of January last year to September, we did a lot of cardio, we did a lot of strength-based conditioning work. I did a lot of running not because I didn't want to do the strength stuff, and not because I enjoy running, but I enjoyed the feeling after I'd done a run. And also, I was finding that I didn't, again, down to prioritisation at the point, I didn't have an hour to go and spend doing circuits in the gym. I had 20 minutes in my lunch hour because I still wasn't getting up quite early enough.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily have I was knackered at the end of the day, so I'd take that 20 minutes in my lunch hour and I'd go and run around the woods.
Yeah.
Or I'd go and run around the park.
Yeah.
Or I'd run in a straight line down the road for 10 minutes and then back again for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's fitting in whatever I could, wherever I could. And I think one of the turning points was where my wife had to go out for something and I had to stay in with the kids. And I literally had 20 minutes. And I think I said this to you a couple of days afterwards. I went, it takes me 22 minutes to get around the woods. I can do that in 20.
Nice.
And I just went for it. And I realised that I can push myself on my own. And I don't need an hour. Like if I've got 20 minutes, I can use 20 minutes. And I think that's what a lot of people don't think about and don't do, is that they focus on all the stars aligning and being perfect and this. And there's another phrase, there's lots of, I live my life with quotes and phrases and little mental check. And one of them is, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Love that.
I'd say this one thing I should tell you, Dan, probably at least once a day, maybe
Yeah,
once every other day, will
thereabouts.
send me memes, like videos, inspirational videos on Instagram,
Yeah.
and I love seeing it because every time I get them, I'm like, right, yeah, go on, because I know Dan sent them me.
Yeah.
They know me pretty good, and it really gives me a little boost for the day. So yeah, I love
Yeah.
it when you send those over, and I think they do help. Like those little videos, we connect with them. There's little
Yeah.
parts of them we go, that really. I get that, I understand that, and that's going
And
to
that's-
inspire me to do better.
I mean, and that's one of the things on one of the one of the notes I made is like Instagram for a lot of people is a really detrimental thing, but I've actually found it to be a really powerful tool because I don't look at it. It's one of the big dangers of I don't compare myself to anybody else anymore. I used to at the beginning, like, oh, I want to look like that. No, I don't care. I'm me. I'm going to look like what I'm going to look like. I'm going to work hard for me and for my
Who are
family.
you comparing yourself to?
All of the different pictures and things you see on Instagram from all the fitness models and fitness influencers, the unrealistic expectations of the perfect body.
Like the ultimate end goal, and
Yeah.
constantly.
And it's not a perfect body because actually in reality they probably have starved themselves for about 5 days. And having gone through the last 12 months, I now know they've starved themselves for the last 5 days. They've eaten nothing but salad. They're in a massive calorie deficit.
Yeah.
They're probably massively dehydrated when they've done those photos as well, and they're just not in a good place.
I mean, we could do a whole podcast episode on
Yeah.
like comparison, and we may even at some point do that. But you have to take those images with a pinch of salt and understand the context around
Definitely.
what you're seeing. You're absolutely right. All the things you mentioned there
Yeah.
are valid with those photos, but also you compare yourself sometimes to the top 0.0001% of people in the world who sometimes just are annoyingly shredded all year round.
Yeah.
They have a six-pack all year round. They just build muscle very easily.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, most of them, more than you probably think. I mean, this is a Fit Dads podcast. We're not really about the kind of elite level, but we've been exposed to that to a certain degree, and we know how many of those cover models and even like the bikini girls are on like performance enhancing drugs. Like it's rife within the industry, and it's something that's not talked about, but it's a huge part of it. And for the consumer, they don't know that though. The average person like us, we're everyday guys.
Yeah.
People who aren't in the industry don't get that context, and it's very easy to kind of put yourself down and feel like I'll never achieve that. But actually, to a certain degree, it is unachievable because it is only achievable through some, shall we say, Mexican supplements.
Yeah, but it's become normalised because of how in your face it is all the time. Every time you switch on your phone and you log into Facebook, Instagram, whatever.
Absolutely.
It's just been normal. So I don't bother. None of that interests me at all.
Amazing.
I end up getting little exercise videos, bits popping up of this is what you can do, this is how to do this exercise right and stuff. But it's the motivational ones that I actually find. It's the things like Dave Goggins. I mean, he is on the extreme of the motivational, like this is how you need to live your life type thing. But there's clips from him. There's Jocko, the ex-Navy SEAL.
Willink,
that's the one. And there's probably 4 or 5 others that pop up on a regular basis in my feed, and it's the clips from them. And then there's a couple of other motivational accounts that just I don't know. It's just this thing. It's what they say and how they say it, and it just makes me think. And one of them, and this is something we've started talking about very recently, is the high rock stuff. And if I go back 6 months, I'd look at that and go, Jesus, I'm never doing anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I saw something, and it was basically, well, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
Actually, that's what I want to do. I want one. I'm going for one now, and we know we've talked about it. It's something I'm going to do.
Yeah.
When I can get a ticket for one because they're like gold dust.
Tell me about it.
I found out. I think we found out about the Birmingham one towards the end of this year, and I've already found out it's sold out.
Yeah, I found out Saturday it's sold out. Yeah, I found out.
Yeah. So, but it's like setting the goals through to go for. But I've used Instagram as a positive thing of trying to ignore what in my mind isn't the bit that I'm interested in, and focusing on these are the bits that motivate me. These are the little things that are giving me mental tools and mental boosts to go and be better.
Absolutely.
Like again, there was one, and I think it was a Dave Goggins quote, and it was, when everyone else is quitting, I'm just getting started. And that is one that goes through my head on a run, when I'm lifting, and it's like, everyone else would give up at this point, I am not giving up.
This is where most people fail right now.
This is where everyone else is going to stop, and I'm going to prove that I am better. Not for them, but for me.
Yeah. And it's funny because as cheesy and as corny as sometimes those videos can come across, because sometimes I'm in the mode, and I'm in like maybe a playful, jokey mode, and one of these really serious videos comes, and I'm like, what's this guy doing? But actually, there's some that in the moment are going to really hit home and they'll stay with you. And it's when you're in those kind of quiet, challenging moments in a workout where they cross your mind and go, no, I need to do better.
Yeah.
That quote goes through your mind, and as stupid as it might seem, they're very motivated in the moment, very, very motivated.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I love the fact that you've filtered out your social media. That's so impressive, because not a lot of people will sit there and do that. It's and it can torment them for years. I've had it myself where, there's been people who, I know just aren't kind of being positive in terms of my mindset. And I've just kept them around for so long. But the amazing thing with social media is you can unfollow, you can mute nowadays, which is great. So you don't have to actually, they'll never know you're not like really looking at their stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a fantastic tool to just filter out some of the things that aren't really positive for you.
I think the fact that you've curated a news feed to benefit you rather than to your detriment, a lot can be learned from that, because it's so easy to do.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really, really easy to do. And in terms of like the quotes that Dan's mentioned so far, there's a bit of cliche to it, which is fantastic, because a cliche is just a truth that's repeated over and over again.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have on my iPad, I have a quotes to live by note, and I just add stuff into that, and every so often I'll go through and I just reread it, and they are all very cliched.
Yeah.
But it's just what can I pull on when I'm struggling to make me want to go that extra mile now? What's going to reinforce my discipline and my reasons for doing this stuff?
And that's a great bit of advice for the audience as well, to be like, journal the things that are positive in your life. Like if you've done something that's amazing, write it down. Have a little journal or notes, just one note in your phone that just says positive things. And it might be things you do, might be things you read, might be things you hear. Just write them all down, because you can come back to those in those moments when you're feeling a little bit weak and you want to, give up on your diet, or you don't want to go out for a run, or you don't want to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning. That's the note section you want to go to be like, actually, I need to stop being a little bitch.
Well, I'll go back. So I did Chatsworth 10K in September last year, and I remember I was doing some training runs and just getting myself ready for it. And I think it was a point in August, and I was getting up. It wasn't stupidly early. It was a Saturday. It was about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was hammering it down with rain. And I got out of bed, looked out the window, I was like, I don't want to go out and run in that. And then I sat there and I said to myself, nobody else is going to be running in that. So if I go out and train now, I'm getting an edge over those that aren't doing it. And I put my stuff on and I went out.
Do you sometimes call on that competitive element of it to be like, this is going to drive me today?
Yeah, but I'm competing against myself. I'm not competing against anyone else. I think that's for a parent, that's the thing, is you've got you're like most parents, working parents, they've got their day job, they're doing 35, 40 hours a week at their day job. They've got another full-time job at home with their kids. So trying to compare yourself and compete with other people that aren't in the same situation as you're already at a disadvantage. So I've learned in the last year that the only person I need to compete with is me. And if I can be a little bit better every day, and I can give it my best every day, even though my best is going to look different every day, because some days I'm going to have had my daughter coming down at 2 o'clock in the morning going, I want a drink, and I've not got back to sleep for another hour or so. So my best that day is going to look very different to I've just had 9 hours of sleep, I've fueled myself, and I'm really, really going to go for it. But as long as I give it my best every day, and I can be a little bit better every day, then I'm happy. I don't feel the need to compete with other people, I'm just competing with me. So when it came to that 10K, I set a goal that I wanted to do it in less than an hour. And for me, if it was more than an hour, I was going to be upset and angry with myself. If I could do it less than an hour, I'd be happy. And I think I did it in 55, 53.
Yeah.
And I was ecstatic.
I think that's why running's great as well, because you are competing against yourself. And I did a little bit of a social media post on this yesterday, actually, about how if you get into exercise and fitness for the wrong reasons, it's amazingly short-lived. And actually, one something we've not told about is you came here a few years ago, didn't you?
I did.
Dan came here to get in shape for his wedding, got in great nick, and then regressed massively. Because I think you were doing it for the wrong reasons. You weren't doing it to improve your health and fitness. You were doing it to look good on the day for other people.
Yeah.
I think if you're being honest with yourself, you probably weren't really that bothered. You knew that you needed to be in shape for it. You needed to look. Probably a bit of pressure from the missus to be like, come on, drop a few pounds for the wedding day. We want you looking good on the photos.
Yeah.
But actually, it wasn't really for you, was it? It was for the day. It was for the occasion. It was for
other people's perception of me. That's what it was for. It wasn't for how I felt, how I looked. It was for how other people would perceive me. And I think we trained for about 6-8 months at that time. Yeah. I dropped, I think it was just under or just over 2 stone then. So I was weighing low 16 stone something. And at that point, I did look and feel good. But I did it for the wrong reasons. I went to a wedding. As soon as the wedding went on honeymoon, foot off the gas. I can relax, I can enjoy this now. And then end of that year, my daughter was born, then COVID hit, and it all went to pot. Yeah. All went to pot. And even though we had the hour a day of exercise like through COVID, there's a Jason went to see Jason Mumford in Sheffield a little while back. And it was one of the things he talked about COVID, and it was one of those things of as soon as they said, right, you're allowed out for an hour of exercise a day, half the country went, that's brilliant, and the other went, is it mandatory? And I was one of them people that went, is it mandatory? So it all just massively regressed, and I think I actually needed to do that bit back in 2018, early 2019 with you, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am now, because I would probably again have done it for the wrong reasons. And what I learned then is, a goal's important, knowing what you want to do. But when we started this back in January last year, my target was to get down to 16 odd stone again, because I felt comfortable there, and we just blew through that and kept going. And I'm down to what I think it was 14.2 the other week. I'm slightly up now, slightly bloated after a bit of travelling, but after a bit of work travel,
straight off the plane.
So I've come way down from where I was, and as we progressed through the first few months and things, and the weight started to drop, my entire goal and attitude towards that goal and objective changed, and it was no longer I want to get 16 stone. It's I turn 40 next year. I want to turn 40 in the absolute best shape I've ever been in my life. And I think one of the things I haven't mentioned is I played a lot of rugby when I was younger. From being 6 to 30, early 30s, I played rugby. So I could pretty much get away with eating what I want. I was training on that side quite regularly. But as soon as I stopped, I didn't stop eating. So
big issue with sports people when they go from training 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week, sometimes every day, and then they put everything to stop, whether it's through injury, whether it's just through moving on. But it's hard to shut that appetite down after eating kind of so heavily for so many years.
It is massively, because your body's used to it, your body wants it. But because of that, I was always quite a big guy anyway, so it's going into the running has been a big challenge for me, which is why I say I'm not a massive. I hate running. I hate every step of it, but I love the way I feel afterwards.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
Dan, it's funny because you really hated running, didn't you, when you first joined? Like, I mean, an 18-stone bloke, the size Dan was. I'm sure at some point on this video as well, we'll put some transformation pictures of Dan so everyone can see just how much he's changed. But the shape Dan was in when he first came, your body was not built for running in any way, shape or form. So there's no wonder it was hard and you didn't want to do it. I think Dan plays it a little bit now. I think he kind of still says he hates it, but I think there's a little bit of him that enjoys it because there's that kind of desire to be better and do more. But I want to just come back to something you mentioned a few moments ago, which was about running, and you were saying I had 20 minutes, I was going to go and take advantage of that. There's space and time in the morning, I'm going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And I think it is in your day about finding those moments and going looking for those moments when you can exercise. I think we all use this excuse for time. We haven't got time. But it's because people aren't looking for the time.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic... Is Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins...
No,
they're not related.
No.
Well, I'm gonna go to Tony Robbins now, head of the motivational speaker, and he was saying something on a video I was watching the other day about how if you in this room now try and pick out something red.
Yeah.
When you pick out something red, did you see anything orange?
If I try and look, but
you weren't looking for orange, right?
No.
But you were only looking for red.
Yeah.
And you didn't see any orange because you weren't looking for it. And it's exactly the same thing with your exercise.
Yeah.
You're not in the mind frame looking for time to exercise. You just find this excuse of I can't do it. I can't do it. We we're presented with the things that we're actually looking for. And that is a huge thing when it comes to committing to those little tasks and planning 100%. Your schedule.
Yeah. And there's a really similar Simon Sinek one of if you watch a skier going through the woods, you start there thinking, how are they not hitting a tree? That skier's not looking at trees, they're looking for the path through the trees.
Yeah.
The second they start thinking about the tree, they hit the tree.
Great analogy, yeah.
So if you start looking for time in your day to do things, you will find time in your day. If you look for excuses and reasons not to do something, you're going to find reasons and excuses not to do it.
Phenomenal. I think that works better than my colour one. Maybe I should have phrased that after I started.
But that's something I use with my wife really regularly when we're getting stressed about something and we're finding things outside of fitness stuff, but we're finding things particularly challenging. We start to sit down here. Are we looking at the trees or the path? And that's the reset conversation.
Just that one line.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, we're looking at the trees because we're looking at the problems of why we can't do all of this stuff. What can we do?
Yeah, we're looking at problems, not solutions.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah, I love that.
Fantastic.
Just mentioning your missus, Alex, she, obviously I know the role she's played, but how supportive has she been in this process and how important do you think that's been to your success?
She's been absolutely incredible. I couldn't have done anything that I've done without her, to be quite honest. I can cook, but since getting married, she's sort of taken over that because she really enjoys it. She always says she wants me to do more, so I try and do more. But but she's within the last year, she's sort of gone in and started. Right, we're going to have this for dinner, which is something we would have had previously. But she's making swaps in and out of it. So, as an example, there's a pasta dish that we will put cream in. Don't have cream in that. We have Philadelphia Light in it instead.
Great.
And that's like a quarter of the calories and things like that. So it's looking at what are the substitutions that we can make. How do we adjust things for meals to be healthier? How do we have healthy snacks and such? Making sure that there's as much veg as possible in our diet for fibre and all the rest of it. So I couldn't have done it without her.
She plays a huge role.
Yeah.
And I think the food, more than anything, is where other halves, partners, families, friends can either be phenomenally productive and positive or really hold you back. Because they are not always on the same journey as you. They don't always understand it. They want to eat the way they want to eat. They're eating sometimes like you were when you were 18 stone. They don't get this new down. And speaking of new downs, it's funny because every time I see Alex, she always says to me, "What have you done with my husband? Where's he gone?" I think when it was the 10K, wasn't it? Because my missus' sister was running it, so we went down to Chatsworth to kind of support her. And then I knew Dan was running it as well, so I saw Dan and Alex running past. They ran the hill at the end, and they came back down. And it was such a nice moment to see you two supporting each other. Yeah. And I think you actually finished the race and then ran back half of the course to go and grab Alex and then run with her.
Motivated for the last K.
I mean, what an unbelievable,
I wasn't running up the hill at the end of it again. I sent her off that on her own and walked up the side.
Yeah, that hill was pretty ridiculous, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was.
But that was such a nice moment where she's not only embraced your journey and accepted that this was what you really want to do, but she's now actually getting involved. She's actually getting into running, and she's, I think, to a certain degree, been inspired by what you've achieved as well.
Well, if I'm honest, she was asking me what time I'm going to get back this morning so she can figure out when she's going for her run today. Because that's one thing we haven't said to Brad is we've signed up for Sheffield Half Marathon in a few weeks.
Amazing.
So, training is on for that. So she's trying to get out for her training runs on that as well at the minute. So
it's doing those things together, getting your partners involved, and we've spoke about that before. It plays such a massive role in you succeeding, getting them on board. And they're not always going to be inspired. They're not always going to be like Alex, but the more you can get them on board is better for you.
I think, I don't know if you guys have talked about this as well, but it's something that comes up with me and Al quite a lot, is the mental load of running the family and everything else going on. Adding sometimes the pressures of the food and what are we going to have for dinner, planning food for the week, and that it can be quite a lot to put on her all the time. So I try and help, but I'm normally more of a hindrance, if I'm honest. But I think one of the things that she does get a bit, and she did get fed up with me for, was every meal I'd be sat there with MyFitnessPal going, right, so what did you put into that? And working out and putting everything in and knowing where my calories were at and things. And I needed to do that, and she didn't. But then she now goes through phases where sometimes she'll be using MyFitnessPal and sometimes she won't and stuff. But every recipe that we do now, we've got a recipe app. She make sure the recipe's in there, and she'll just tell me what it is, where it is. I can go and get it and put that in. So there's little adaptations as well of how we do things day to day that have allowed me to keep on top of my monitoring and stuff that I do.
I'm glad you touched on that, because MyFitnessPal can be a real thorn in the side in relationships, and I've been tracking for so many years. It's just kind of, I do it on and off. Some weeks is good, most weeks are good, to be fair, but you have moments where it's maybe not as good, but there's a reset and I know where I need to be. And I've done it for so long that Amy is well on board with this as well. Yeah. And to the point where, sometimes when we have roast dinners and I'm really trying to watch my food, she will, weigh out my food. Yeah. She'll weigh out my potatoes, my meats, my veggies. And she doesn't have to, but she knows it's what I want to do. She knows it supports me. She knows it'll make me happy. Yeah. So having that person in your corner is phenomenally important, I think.
Yeah, and I have the same. I will do the same. But she does get really irritated when we're out in a restaurant. And then, if we go back, I think it was last year, I took her out for her birthday. And at the end of the meal, I'm sat there with MyFitnessPal. No longer the most romantic night out sort of thing.
Not the ending she had to the night.
Yeah, so I've learned to pick and choose my moments with that one.
Of course.
And then we've had the discussions of, look, if I know I'm going to go out for a meal in the evening, it's like, what are the strategies I can employ? And this is some of the stuff you've massively helped me with in the areas. So I minimise my calories in the morning, so I'll still have breakfast, but rather than having 2 eggs, I might have 1, for example. But then when it comes to even it's planning, it's making the healthy choices. It's what's going to make me 70% full rather than 100% full. I don't need to gorge myself. Yeah. I just need to enjoy my meal. And then it's figuring it out afterwards and whatnot, and picking and choosing how I do that with her.
What I've always said when it comes to eating out, and things I've reiterated to you, is with a meal out, there is that sensitive topic of, do I track it? Is it going to annoy the other person? You don't want to be on your phone at the end of it working out what it is. Just give me 2 minutes, sweetheart. I'll just put this into MyFitnessPal.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
It can be annoying for the person. Your attention's off them, and it's now on you and on your phone. But what I always say is, just if you want to, forget the tracking. When you have a meal out, you should enjoy yourself. Do that 70% full rule. That's something that we really try and get across, is choose something off the menu that's 70%. It's going to leave you 70% full. And then when you leave the table, make sure that you are 70% full. Don't just eat it because it's there.
Yeah.
The chances are, when you make your own meals at home, they're not mounds of food like you would get in a restaurant with the sides and desserts and starters. So you have to employ that rule. But also, like I said, leave some calories. Leave the bulk of your calories for later in the day. Have a small breakfast, small lunch. Just kind of snack on stuff throughout the day. Leave all your calories for the evening.
The other side of it is eat like a child.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, the food arrives, I eat the veggies first. I get them out of the way. Yeah. And then what I've actually then learned is having them first is actually the best way to do it, because that coats your guts with the fibre. So veggies first out of the way, and then I just work my way through the rest of it, leaving the best bit to last. But actually, if I'm full before the time I get there, then I'm full.
Yeah,
it's trying to be sensible. And it's for me now. I'm a year on from where I was. I have a little bit more flexibility in my diet, and I understand. I've spent a lot of time understanding the calories side of things, and fuel in, fuel out, and all of that, and it's. Okay, I might go over having gone out for a meal, but I can have eaten less in the morning, and I can manage myself the day after as well. It's not all about that one day. And I think we had the conversation where if we look at calories, you've got your calories day to day, but if you look at it over a week and you can flex and you're going out for a big meal, then lower your calories day to day earlier in the week. And
great approach. Yeah, absolutely.
Use them at the end.
One key word that you said there, Dan, was understanding. And I think a lot of the tactics that you and Ryan have worked really hard to instill and develop, it's that intuition. And that's one thing that I'm seeing now, from someone who doesn't know you very well, that you've clearly got very, very good intuition, and the habits that you've put in place, and the 70% full cue.
Yeah.
Somebody could hear that and they could think, I've never heard of that before, but that could literally change their life.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
70%.
Well, I think it's...
And you can employ that with everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be on a night, on an evening meal out. It can be with your breakfast, it can be with your lunch, it can be with your day-to-day meals. Employ that 70% rule, and it's amazing how much less you'll eat.
Yeah. But there's, again, another quote, and it's... I can't remember who I heard it from, where I heard it now. I think it was off Instagram, but it was you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you can put the right systems in place, then that's your baseline. And you can reach for your goals, and hopefully you get there. But when you do fall, at least you've got a baseline level you're falling to, and a system that you're going to fall to.
Because your goals are based on motivation, as we've mentioned. Motivation can be quite fickle; it comes and goes.
Yeah.
When it drops, it's your systems you fall back on, and how good are they? What's in place to kind of keep you up and supported.
Yeah. That's it, definitely.
I suppose as a spectator, I'll go as far as saying I'm mesmerised by, like, from me just speaking to you now and listening to this conversation. It's fascinating. So there will be people listening who think, I could never do that. But in space of a year, like, what was the trigger for you second time round? I know you've seen Ryan previously. What was the trigger for you then?
Second time round. So there are a few triggers, really. There was the running around in the park. Being out of breath. There's lying in bed with heartburn, but there's being ashamed of myself again, to be honest. The other side, which I didn't mention earlier, was my dad had a quadruple heart bypass at the beginning of last year, and that really was a bit of a wake-up call for me. But
is that something that's hereditary? Is it in the family, or? So
the family does have a history of heart disease. My dad's got issues. One of my uncles has. The other uncle seems to be fine. So it's, but I don't want to take the risk. Why bother? Well, I've got 3 kids. I've got my wife. I don't want to take that risk. So I think it got to a point where I was sitting there, and we had conversation on the phone and things, and it was my kids deserve better, my wife deserves better, but actually I deserve better. And I know I've got to a point previously, and the reason I reached out, because we kept in touch, we played golf a few times over the years and stuff as well.
I'm going to touch on that shortly.
And I just remember, and I just sat there one day and I said to Al, I said, I don't care what it is, I'm going to reach out to Ryan because I can't do this on my own. I tried in fits and starts to do bits and pieces through probably the worst time of the year, November, December, beginning of January, with Christmas and everything, and also I've got my daughter's birthday in December. My 2-year-old's birthday is in January, sort of thing. My wedding anniversary is at the beginning of February, so it's
celebrations,
like lots of things. So I was getting nowhere, and it wasn't. And again, it wasn't the motivation to go and do something. It was the discipline to do it, but it was knowing what to do, really, because when you weigh 18.5 stone, walking up the stairs can get you out of breath, and it's not something that people talk about, but it's embarrassing. Yeah. It's like, even when I'd go down to London to the office there, if I walked up the stairs with people, I'd get to the top and I'd be out of breath.
It becomes the norm in your life, doesn't it? And it's probably not until you're in shape and the other people around you who aren't that kind of weight, they'll notice the heavy breathing. Yeah. You might not notice it as much, but
I mean, the honest one, the one that I used to hate above all else, is I'd be sweating while I was sat at my desk. So whatever, so I'd have big sweat patches under my t-shirts and my shirts and whatnot, and it's a horrible, horrible feeling.
Just constantly warm.
Yeah, gone. Don't have that anymore at all. Yeah. We talked about that, and there's lots of scientific bits around it, but movement and losing the weight and being a lot healthier has helped that. But the trigger, I think the biggest trigger was really probably my clothes not fitting and being ashamed of myself. And then leading that to get me to a place where I want to be better for those people, but I need to be better for me.
Yeah. What great reason for change. Yeah. For you and for everyone else around you. Yeah.
But that's not the reason I'm keeping doing it. That's just the initiator.
That was the foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I think you've really enjoyed this so much, the kind of the discipline of it, how you feel, the stark contrast in terms of just self-belief and being the best person you can be. I think when you start becoming that person, it's infectious.
Yeah.
It's addictive. It really feels like I want to see how far I can go with this now. And I've seen that in you.
Yeah, it is. But I think, and this is probably slightly hard to talk about, but I want to be open and transparent for people because there will be other people. If I go back to when it was COVID, we had a cellar in our house. We had that converted. I had my office down there. There was a little alcove in it, and I thought, I'll put my desk in there. Then we can use the rest of that room for other stuff. Worst thing I did. Absolutely the worst thing I did. And I started working in there from like the September 2020, I think it was.
Okay.
And then, but there's no windows in the bit I was in.
Right. I'm just thinking that when you said a cellar, I'm
like, so there is a window in the cellar, and I'm still, my office is still, I still have a desk down there, but my desk is next to the window that's there now. So I can look out the sky. My wife's put flowers around it and things, so I can watch the bees and stuff in the summer, and it's lovely, and it's great. But then, and it was hard.
You had your gym down there, so didn't you?
Didn't have the gym at that point.
Oh, did you not?
Couldn't get gym equipment in lockdown.
Of course,
couldn't get anything.
Well, you could, but you have to take out a mortgage for it.
That's it. So I was working down there, and then at that point in time as well. But then Logan lived with his mum because Logan's my first marriage. He lived in Lincoln. So an hour and a half away, and I remember it was the end of January, very early February, and I'd driven him over to Lincoln, and I was driving back, and I realised for those people that have no idea what this is, I'd probably driven for about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
On the way back, or now it's an hour and 40-minute drive. I hadn't had the radio on. I couldn't remember any of the journey.
Wow.
I hadn't said anything to myself. I hadn't had an inner monologue on anything, and
just internal deadness.
Yeah, and I realised I was starting to go into a bit of a hole with that, and I actually got on the Monday. I emailed into work and I just went, I need some time.
Yeah,
and I took a week off, got out in the fresh air and things, and that made a huge difference. And that was the trigger to sort of move desk and things around. What that has translated and made me realise within the last 12 months is getting up and moving and getting fit and losing the weight. It's not just a physical thing. It's massively mental.
Yeah.
It gives you belief in yourself because you're achieving something. But I think there's got to be some sort of chemical, hormonal thing as well, where when you are larger and you don't move, you don't think you can move.
Yeah.
And that can spiral with you and things. So it's all about just starting and doing something. And you've always said to me, it's like, just walk every day. If you can do something, just walk.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was what we started with. And for me now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. That's what I need to do for the way my life works. But I've never got back from the gym at 6:30 in the morning and thought, I wish I hadn't done that. I've always got back feeling, right, what am I doing today? Let's get on with it. Let's make Ala brew. Let's get the kids' clothes ready.
Yeah.
Let's get my coffee. Yeah. Let's get on with it.
It's almost like the hard bits out of the way. Like if you, I think it's Joe Rogan says this all the time, like to wake up and do the hardest thing in the morning, the first thing, because the rest of the day is easy. Like it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're trying to tackle the hardest thing in your day later in the day, it's like the whole day is an uphill battle just to get to that point, and then it's kind of downhill after that.
Yeah.
There's a book called Eat That Frog.
Yes.
You've come across that before.
Yeah.
The guy called
I've not seen
Brian
that one,
Tracy, and that's exactly what you've just said.
Yeah.
Do if you eat a frog first thing in the morning, you're probably not going to do many worse things than that all day. So that's exactly, and I highly encourage people to check that out as well.
Yeah.
It's good.
What's that one called?
Eat That Frog.
Eat That Frog.
From Brian Tracy, I think it is.
Brilliant. I'll check that one out.
Yeah. So it's the mental side, I think, is just as, if not more important than the physical side. Definitely for me. I am a lot happier. I'm a lot more outgoing than I was before. I'd just want to hide at home because you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we're out. We're going running. So and try and getting Alan kids involved and stuff as well. And it's I feel a lot more positive about life.
But that's a stark contrast. I'll just circle back to when you were talking about the golf and 2020. I think I was pretty much just getting into golf at that point. I think in 2020, I'd played my whole life, but there was a moment where my local course, Lees Hall, did a bit of an offer
Yeah.
from May to December. I thought, I'll jump on that, why not? Started playing with a few mates, and I found that was really good to get me out and about. I couldn't, I was hammering the gym, I wasn't working as much, had a bit more free time. And I saw that you were out and about, messaged you, and you were mentally and physically different, I think, in that round of golf that we played. And I could see you weren't yourself.
Yeah.
And you were really open and honest with me in that round about how you've been struggling a little bit, and it'd been tough for you. And I had seen that in you. I think it's why you tried to get to golf.
Yeah.
And there was a real vulnerability. And having seen, the last time I'd seen you really was when I sent you off for your wedding, and you were in an amazingly positive place.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch you where you were there, being quite almost like unsure of yourself a little bit to a certain degree. But to see you where you are now is like, it's what gives me the most sense of joy and satisfaction more than anything, is to know I've changed not just this physical being, but this mental state as well is for me probably the cherry on top with all this.
Yeah, and I think especially with parents and dads is, and then you guys touched on that, like the parent guilt thing, is like, I don't ever feel guilty for going and doing something for myself.
Yeah.
Right? I can't.
You said that after the episode. You were like, I listened to the parent guilt episode, and you went, I don't get that. I
don't get it. I don't get
feel
it.
guilty.
I mean,
but I think there's something really powerful in that.
There are things I do feel guilty about with my kids, but spending time on bettering myself for them is not one of them. I never ever will be.
And I think a lot of that comes from off the back of feeling really down and shit with your mental health. I think that moment there clarified that it doesn't matter if I spend time away from my kids, just so I don't go back to that feeling how I was feeling at that point.
Well, there's something I wrote down here, because again, something I heard elsewhere, so I worked it all out just for the times. So in a week, you've got 168 hours.
Yep.
Okay, 40 hours for work, a bit of commuting and whatnot on there. So 7 hours for commuting, 56 hours for sleep if you're getting a good 8 hours a night. If you take 5 of that for your exercise, you still have 60 hours in the week left to do something with and spend with your family.
Yeah.
So if you can't afford to spend 5 hours bettering yourself, whether it be exercise or another hobby or something, to me, you've not got your priorities right.
Yeah. When you break it down to the bare bones of hour by hour in the week, again, it all comes back to scheduling. I think the fear around parent guilt a lot of the time comes from not feeling like they've got time to do it. Like their time's better spent elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to sacrifice any of the time with your kid. What you're really sacrificing is the time and the dead space. Like, what I always say to clients is, give me your phone right now. Let me just check your screen time. What's your screen time like for the day? And it's like 5-6 hours. And I'm like, you do spend an hour of that time just on a treadmill, in the gym, in the weight section, out walking. Could you be more productive with that kind of phone time? And usually the answer, of course, the answer is yes. Yeah.
I mean, we had the conversation on this one, and this was, I heard this a little while back, and it really made me think. And it was how many times do people say, I don't have time to go to the gym? Try saying, I don't prioritise my fitness. I don't have time to cook healthy food. I don't prioritise my nutrition. Then you can use it with your kids. And I use this, and I'll be honest, I've used this with myself when I have been rushing in an evening because there's something else I needed to get done. And it's like, I don't have time to read a story to them tonight. I'm not prioritised reading my daughter a book. It makes your brain think that little bit differently, and it comes down, and that's why I said at the beginning, it comes down to prioritisation. What is actually important?
I love that change in the choice of words, because I think saying I haven't got time is a really nice little justification. It makes us feel good about ourselves. There's no guilt in that.
It's an excuse.
Yeah, it's a good excuse, and it's a justified excuse in our own minds. If you then start saying, if you can't say that phrase, and that phrase was banned from your vocabulary, and you started saying, I'm not prioritising that, that makes us feel a bit worse. Oh, I'm not prioritising. It's exactly the same thing. It's really a more truthful thing, but it makes us feel a little bit worse about the decision we're making. And that's simply, I think, the reason we don't use that terminology. We just say, I haven't got time. It's quillo. What's the word? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I'm going to forget that phrase. I'm not even going to. I know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
but there's no way I'm ever going to say it. So I'll leave that to the side. Too early for that one. It just generally sounds nicer when we say, "I'm not prioritizing. I haven't got time," as opposed to prioritizing it.
Yeah, definitely.
One question I had for you, Dan, was all about time travel. Going back in time, I suppose if you went back in time and spoke to Dan from 5 years ago, not so much what would you say to him, but would he listen? Like, what would you say to him and would he listen?
I don't think he would, to be honest.
Do you think that perspective shift would be just too drastic for him at that time?
Yeah, massively so. I was in a very different place in my life then for a number of different reasons. So, I mean, being open. So I was married previously to Logan's mum, and then when he'd just turned 1, we separated, and then I met my current wife 7 years ago. So about a year after we separated, I met her, just under a year. And basically, I'd spent the time between separated and meeting Al, I had trained myself. I'd actually moved back. I was very, very lucky, and then I ended up moving back into a little building that my parents had. And I had a punch bag, and I had a little area I could work out, and I made the time. And I guess this comes down to prioritising. Every evening, I made the time to do something. I didn't have any weights at that point, so there was a lot of cardio-y, circuit type stuff, but I'd either do it on my own, or when I had Logan, I'd put him to bed, and then I'd go and do it, and then I'd have my dinner and whatnot, and that was great. And I was in I don't know what I weighed or anything back then, but I felt all right, mainly because I was going on online dating, to be honest, and you want a half decent profile picture for that. Let's be honest.
For sure.
And then I met Al, and I got fat and happy, and then I came and trained with Ryan, and got to where I wanted to be for a particular thing, and then and I don't think that 5 years. If I go back to 5 years ago, 5 years ago would be the end of our first sort of stint of training. And what I would be saying is, don't give it in, don't let it slide. And at the time, I didn't think I was letting it slide. So I don't really think he would listen, because I think I needed to put all of that time and effort and work in for that one goal, but I needed to lose it all to realise how hard it is to get there, because I'm not going to sugarcoat for people. The last 12 months has been hard. It's time, it's effort, it's work. All my hobbies have suffered. We talked before we started. I do photography as a hobby. I've got, I would say, a decent-ish portfolio. I think I've been out with my camera twice in the last 12 months, because if I've got a morning to go and take photos, or I can go and get a run in and do this and go to the gym, that's what I'm doing, because that's what I need to get the things in that I'm focusing on and what I'm prioritising. Again, that's our word.
There has to be some sacrifice somewhere, and unfortunately the photography was the one thing that you just needed to kind of put to the side. Because
the other things I'm sacrificing are work, which I can't do, or my time with my family, which I can't do. So the fitness side has become the hobby for me now. But I think I had to put the time and effort in to get to a point to lose it all, to understand that it's hard work to get there. It's very easy to lose it. It's fun losing it, to be honest, but it's very easy to lose it, and it's very hard to get back.
Would you say your life's easier now, even though you've chosen to do hard things?
No, I've got 3 kids.
Good answer.
Anybody who says life with kids is easy is lying, or they've got a ridiculous amount of help. So I've got Logan, who's 8, nearly 9. I've got Ada, that's just turned 4, and Nate, that's just turned 2. So
it's a big age range as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Logan and Ada love each other, but they don't half battle these days, because Ada is an incredibly opinionated little girl. I don't want her any. She's basically, and I don't know if you won't have had this yet. You might be getting there, trying to argue with a miniature version of yourself.
It's terrifying.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, my little boy Teddy, he's very strong-willed, strong opinion, to a point where he does wind my wife up a lot. And he pushes her to see how far he can take it. And
they do.
Tough.
They do that. So no, it's not. I mean, a lot of my life becomes about logistics of who needs to be where and when and how, with swimming lessons and rugby and various other bits and pieces. So I wouldn't say it's easier now at all, especially COVID changed the world massively when it comes to work, and I am very lucky in that I can work to a fairly flexible level. I still need to get my hours in and time in the day, but I have a little bit of leeway. But in terms of travel, I used to travel a huge amount. I don't quite travel as much as I used to. I used to travel every week somewhere. I don't do that now. I get that.
Do you think that's helped in terms of committing to this? I think it will have done in the early days, because
it did.
I've had a lot of clients in the past, I'm not sure about yourself, Brad, but when travel is a big thing in their week, it's very, very difficult to find routine and structure. Routine and structure when you're all over the world, even all over the country, is outrageously hard. It takes another level of planning and strategy to get that to work. You still travel every now and again, and you make that work really well. And I mean, you've literally just got back from Belgium, so
But there's again, it comes down to what are the systems I can put in place. So the systems that I have now are, I've joined a gym, which I've done through work because I get a discount through health insurance, which is a really nice thing. But I've joined a gym that is a nationwide gym, where I have a home gym and I can use other gyms around the country. And if the only ones I can't use are one in London, but then I've now, after speaking to their customer services, going, well, I'm going to London for 2 days. I want to go to the gym. I don't have one in my hotel. What can we do? They've basically now told me, well, if you email us beforehand, we'll add it on for £2 a day for you.
Amazing.
So brilliant.
Is that the work, or is that through work? Or is
no, that's through the gym. I just went to the gym. It's pure gym. I just went to their customer services and just went, I'm going to be in London. I want to use this gym for a couple of days because it's around the corner from my hotel.
Right.
How do I make that happen? Do I have to buy a day pass?
Yeah.
Because I already pay a membership. And they went, no, we'll just add it on for this.
And that's Pure Gym, is it?
Pure Gym, yeah.
Brilliant. So that's good from Pure Gym.
Yeah.
Oh, that willingness to explore that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that was a thing.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't. I'm
amazed. Yeah.
I was prepared to pay a day pass rate if I needed to, but so it's things like that. I went to, obviously I've been in Belgium, and before I went, Google Maps. Right, where's the nearest park? Where can I go for a run?
Yeah.
Where is the nearest gym that I can use and I can get a day pass into? I didn't go to the gym there because I didn't prioritise going there because I had other work stuff I had to do.
Yeah.
But I could go out for a half an hour run. So I found a park. I got there on the Sunday, went and ran 3K around the park at 9 o'clock at night, just so I'd moved something that day, and then the Monday went and did 5K around it.
Yep.
So it's
a huge conversation I have with all the clients I coach who travel regularly. It's whenever you go anywhere, the first thing you should be thinking about, really, logistically, from an accommodation point of view, is there a hotel where I'm staying? Sorry, is there a gym where I'm staying? Or is there a gym nearby? Because they're going to be things that you need to do in the downtime.
Yeah. And
there's going to be normally quite a bit of downtime. You've only been working a certain amount of hours. And then you're going to be in a city with no one else, no kids, no family. You're going to have time to kind of go and do your own thing. So prioritise and plan before you get there. Don't leave it to the last minute, because
definitely. And the other side is, I think very early on when I was doing a bit of travelling, we had the conversation and it was like, right, let's define some circuits that I can do, bodyweight circuits I can do in a hotel room.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So worst case scenario, there's almost like a 3-step backup plan where if all goes tits up, and there's nowhere to train, there's no partners, no nothing. You have literally got maybe like 20 minutes in the day. You've got a circuit you can do in your hotel room that takes up minimal space, and it just is ticking a box for
and
you.
That's it. I mean, I went for a run on the Sunday night. I then got back and did an ab circuit in the hotel room. So, because all I need is space enough for me to lie on the floor. I mean, most hotel rooms will have that, even if you're sticking your feet out the bathroom door.
And if not, I'm at the company going, come on, that's it. What's this hotel room all about?
So it's very much about what are those systems I can put in place. What's the planning that really is going to take me 5 to 10 minutes, but when I get there, there's no excuses for me now.
Yeah. This is why I think you're such a great guest to have on, because you're giving all these solutions rather than problems. You're someone who was presented with so many barriers throughout this last year, and you've just come up with a solution to every single one. And solutions that a lot of clients, when they hear you say them, or people who listen to the podcast will hear you say these things and think, I've thought of that and never acted on it or never come up with that solution. So it's great for these little insights that you're bringing. Absolutely. Amazing.
Have you got any last few questions for Dan as well?
Let's have a little look. I've got a few things written down. I guess one thing we touched on was obviously having the family involved and the missus. One thing I really wanted to touch on was getting other elements of the family involved, so like kids, for example. Now, something I know you've done recently is you bought a camper van.
Oh yeah. Sort of.
Using it
in the loosest sense.
Yes. But I think that's a great way of actually making your weekends and family weekends more active. Like, you're not staying around. You've taken, you know, don't get me wrong, it's a cool looking camper van, isn't it? He's got a nice little VW, but it just means that when you take the family out at a weekend, you can be active with them. You can start thinking about walking, moving. It's not just we're going to go to the cinema. We're going to sit at home. We're going to play something at home. It's getting out and about. I love that idea.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in terms of like getting the family involved, I mean, I brought Logan to training sessions here.
Absolutely.
So
he's here today, over there, being very good. I haven't had a peep so far.
No. He's under strict instructions and being bribed with a McDonald's. So
that's what you didn't say. There was a McDonald's in there.
So I mean, Logan's been here, but he's also. I am very lucky in that I do have a gym at home. I've got a decent set of equipment. I've got dumbbells. I've got a squat rack and bench and a little cable machine and battle ropes and rower. So I am very, very lucky having all of that. So he's come down there with me and done bits and pieces. My daughter Ada, she just turned 4, but I've had her doing deadlifts and squats.
You sent me a picture of bench pressing once with some dumbbells. That was great.
She was bench pressing there and stuff. But I think in terms of getting them involved, the biggest one was, and this is the thing that I think at the beginning of all of this last year really kicked it off, was my wife signed up to park run, and I sat there and went, I'm not doing that. And she went and she did. I went there and watched her do it with a friend and stuff. And then we were talking afterwards, and she was, and there was some big people doing park run. Let's be honest. Okay. And I was like, well, I need to move more because Ryan keeps telling me I've got to, and without being silly, I'm paying him to tell me, giving me his experience and tell me an expertise and tell me what I need to be doing. So, maybe I should just sign up and I'll do one and we'll see how it goes. So, signed up, did one park run. I think my time was about 39 minutes. It was not good. Okay. It was not good at all. And then went back and we did another one, and I did another one, and then we had a conversation of, what do our weekends look like? Should we be doing a park run on a Saturday morning or something like that? And we got to a point of agreeing, that's what we're going to do. The buggy we had was not designed for doing a park run, so I sold that and spent a silly amount of money on a running buggy, but a double one, so we could put Ada in it as well, because at that point there'd only been one of us been able to run because one of us. So then, for the next 4 or 5 months, I was pushing a double running buggy around a park run.
Yeah. So not only doing a 5k, but now doing it weighted.
But this was the thing. So my time was staying around like 35, 36 minutes. There was not a lot of progression at all, which is sort of a little bit disheartening, if I'm honest.
But you can be allowed that when you've obviously got weight on you.
But you're not thinking, but for me it's like, there's no, I'm not improving, oh, this is, and then there was one day Al wasn't feeling 100%, and she just went, I'll come down with a buggy, you just go and run. And we actually had, I have no idea what it was. We had a big argument before on the way down there about something, and I was like, right, that's it. I just need to
fuel up now. Yeah.
And I ran, and I think I was like 30 minutes and 15 seconds or something like that. Yes. And I remember messaging you like, I've nearly broken 30 minutes. Sort of thing.
It was such a big jump. It was like 5 minutes jump. I think it was not only the buggy. I think you left out the argument part of it. But I think I would have given a bit more context to it.
But I used it as fire and fuel. I mean, it was over absolutely nothing, and all was fine straight away at the end of it. And I was like, "You've done like nearly 30 minutes, like what that sort of thing." I'm really proud.
But what a great way of getting the kids involved with exercise and fitness, and they're in there, they're being pushed around, they love it. And
so, I say love it. They love it for about the first 3k, and then they're fighting, screaming, wanting another biscuit, and it's like. But what we then had was we couldn't leave Logan sat on his own. We both want to go and do a park run. Logan, you're coming with us, get your trainers on. Amazing. So he's run about 4 or 5 of them with us.
Has he? Wow, the full 5k?
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
it's really slow.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
a lot of shouting.
When are we stopping?
Like, stop ruining my time, sort of thing. But but he's done them. And there's the one we do is the part we do it is you go quiet down one side. It's in Millhouse's part. You go down one, you come back up. So he sits on a bench every now and then and thing.
Right.
But you got out and done it. And the kids' part runs are only like 2-3k. So actually, really, he's done really, really well for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he's got out and done it. So
Again, just an amazing way of adapting, getting the family involved, working out logistically, trying new things, actually investing in a buggy as well, which is, a big move. So, yeah, I love every single approach you've taken to health and fitness and how you've literally done 180 from where you were. Again, what a fantastic insight and guest to have on for sure.
I'm proud for you, your family, and for Ryan as well for sort of playing a part in that, because I think it's a lot of people listening there will be you a year ago and they'll be thinking I need to change and I don't know how, so I think you share some really valuable insights.
But I think there's an analogy people have probably heard, but it's like if you need to change oil in the car, you can do it yourself. It's going to be a faff, it's going to be hard, you're going to get something wrong somewhere, but you can do it yourself. Realistically, if you take it to a mechanic, it's going to happen a lot quicker, a lot more efficiently. And that for me is the thing. It's like I could go out and do stuff on my own, but I'm not gonna get to the point I want to get to as quickly, as efficiently, and as healthily as I've been able to with Ryan's support. So
It's really nice to hear. And I think the accountability, a coach should always fast track your progress in everything that you do. And one thing we haven't touched on is like how much more mobile and flexible you are now. Like it's phenomenal. Like this guy was not only 18 stone but stiff as a board. Like it was phenomenal the amount of flexibility he's got now and how much better he performs exercises. But again, it's just something that not a lot of people would even go down the idea of entertaining when they start a health and fitness journey. They just think I need to move more, I need to eat better. But actually, there's so many other things you can be doing along the way that mean that later on down the line, you're going to be easier. It's going to make it easier to squat when you can squat.
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to be more faster in your running when you can run.
Yeah.
And it all comes from loosening up. And there's little things along the way that we've worked on that have just streamlined the whole process. But, I always say you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. And my God, have you drank a lot along the last 12 months. So, awesome, mate. Anything else you want to touch on?
For me, I suppose as a closing message from me, were to hear from you about, I suppose, the biggest lesson you've learned from Ryan's approach in particular, because I'm personally really intrigued to hear that.
I think the biggest thing for me with Ryan, as we sort of said, we've probably become friends over all of this as well, but it's that he's friendly, approachable, always there. Literally, if I message him on WhatsApp or the fitness app or whatever, at some point within the next 12 to 24 hours at maximum, I'm getting a response, sort of thing. So he's always there, guidance, support and things. But quite willing to call bullshit on me on certain things, which I think people really need. Because, again, it comes back to what's the easy way, or what's the excuse I can make. And early on, there were a few of those thrown in, and you did call me out on them.
Just a few.
Yeah. And things. But then I think one of the biggest things I've sort of learned through all of that is that your brain lies to you. Sometimes it's trying to protect you, but when it comes to fitness, if you're running, your chest is burning, your legs are giving out, you can go further. Your brain is trying to protect you and it's lying to you, telling you can't. And the thing with Ryan is he seems to be able to judge where my limit actually is better than my brain tells me it is. And he's able to push me to that limit without taking me to the point where I've collapsed on the floor in a puddle of my own whatever. Let's not go there.
Could be a few things you put in there.
Got me to that point, so I stand up knowing that I have worked hard and I have earned that, but I've gone further than I would have if I'd been on my own. And that's why it comes back to sort of, for me, having a coach, having someone that can give me the guidance, the support, the steer, and being there just to go, do you know what, I'm confused, I don't understand this, I don't know, I need a bit of help and guidance, and having that person is worth its weight in gold to me.
Amazing.
That's lovely to hear. And I think it's one of the most difficult things as a coach, I think. It's one of the parts of the job that I hate the most is calling people out when I know they're lying to themselves and they're just using the same excuses they've used for a long period of time. People pay for my services for me to be quite harsh. It's a harsh part of the role and job, but it's one you have to embrace if you're going to get people to change in the long term. Yeah. You need to help them understand that what's a valid reason for not doing something and what's an invalid reason. Yeah. And that's something that we worked a lot on at the start. It's the one thing I've said continually over the last year is you don't make the excuses anymore. In fact, you make better solutions sometimes than what I would even recommend. So, it's amazing how you've not just changed the excuses, but you now think completely the opposite way. You think like I do, and you think about solutions and not problems. So, phenomenal.
But I think just in what you said there, I think for me it's people have to want to change.
Yeah.
And they have to want to change for the right reason. And the first time I came, I didn't want to change for the right reason. But I needed to do that back then for me to learn that. Because if someone's coming to do it and they don't really want to change, they're just doing it because someone told them they should lose a bit of weight or whatever, they're never going to stick with it. It's not going to become a lifestyle. It's not going to become a long-term thing. It's going to be, I'm going to do this for 3 months. I'm going to shift a bit and then whatever. You need to want to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I still want to change. I still want to get better.
Yeah,
I still have goals and targets.
That's the most inspiring thing. We're here a year later with a phenomenal transformation, and you still want more. You still know there's way more to be had here, and that's when you know it's a bug now. It's a lifestyle. It's something you're going to continue doing, hopefully for the rest of your life, for sure.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you for coming down, mate. Great to share these insights, and thank you for letting us ask so many probing questions about your personal life as well.
No, absolutely fine.
Guys, thank you for joining us on the Fit Dads podcast. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.